Five Easy Pieces, 1970, isn't just a film, it's a quiet rebellion wrapped in existential angst. Starring Jack Nicholson at his rawest, the story follows Bobby DeP, a disillusioned oil rig worker hiding from his once promising classical piano career. But this isn't a redemption arc, it's a road trip through alienation, a snapshot of a man who doesn't belong anywhere. With unflinching realism and soul-piercing silence, the film captures a generation unsure of itself. One iconic diner scene, just Bobby trying to order toast, unleashes a cold-blooded defiance that still echoes in cinema. Tarantino admires Five Easy Pieces for its stripped-down storytelling and unpredictable characters who simmer under pressure, then explode. No big guns, no explosions, just the raw ache of a man on the run from himself. If you want to understand the DNA of American film rebellion, Five Easy Pieces isn't optional. It's a damn blueprint. A Man Called Horse, 1970, isn't your typical Western, it's a brutal, haunting transformation. When an English aristocrat, captured by a Native American tribe, is stripped of his name, pride, and culture, he's forced to endure unthinkable trials to earn their respect. What begins as survival becomes a profound metamorphosis. This film pulls no punches, raw rituals, violent realism, and a spiritual journey that sticks with you like a scar. Tarantino doesn't just appreciate A Man Called Horse for its historical boldness, he sees it as a cinematic rite of passage. There's power in how the film forces you to feel every ounce of pain and respect earned. It's not romanticized, it's real. And in a decade filled with antiheroes and identity crises, this one hits a nerve. Tarantino values movies that challenge the audience, and Horse does it with arrows, fire, and silence that speaks louder than gunshots. Dark Star, 1974, is what happens when stone philosophy meets sci-fi minimalism, and Tarantino loves it for exactly that. Made on a shoestring budget by John Carpenter and co-written with Dan O'Bannon, Dark Star is a punk rock answer to 2001, A Space Odyssey. It follows a crew of burned-out astronauts on a never-ending mission to destroy unstable planets. But the real trip? Watching these guys spiral into absurdity, boredom, and existential dread, especially when the ship's talking bomb starts having a philosophical crisis. Tarantino respects the DIY guts of this film, the raw creativity, the deadpan satire, and that homemade charm only indie geniuses can pull off. It's weird, it's witty, and it doesn't care if you get the joke or not. Dark Star isn't just a sci-fi flick, it's a rebellious finger to polished cinema. And Tarantino? He always roots for the rebels. Switchblade Sisters, 1975, is pure grindhouse gold, sharp, savage, and unapologetically wild. It's the story of the Dagger Debs, an all-girl gang slicing their way through a city dripping with crime, corruption, and betrayal. This isn't your typical teen rebellion. These girls are fierce, foul-mouthed, and packing more heat than their male rivals. Tarantino didn't just admire this film, he resurrected it. Literally. He re-released it under his Rolling Thunder Pictures label because Switchblade Sisters oozes everything he adores. Tough women, over-the-top violence, and that electric 70s exploitation energy. It's raw, it's messy, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else. The betrayals hit like gunshots, the dialogue is wickedly sharp, and the chaos feels choreographed by a mad genius. If you want to understand where Tarantino's femme fatale were born, look no further. These aren't just switchblades, they're cinematic daggers straight to the chest. Rolling Thunder, 1977, is the revenge thriller that crawls under your skin and detonates. Major Charles Rain returns home from a brutal POW camp, only to be met with cold stares, a shattered family, and unimaginable violence. When his wife and son are murdered and his hand shredded in a garbage disposal, Rain doesn't cry, he loads up. What follows is a slow-burn explosion of vengeance, with a prosthetic hook and a sawed-off shotgun leading the way. Tarantino worships this film, and it shows. The cold, calculated rage, the methodical pacing, the final bloodbath in a whorehouse, it's all pure cinematic fire. Rolling Thunder isn't about justice, it's about release. The violence doesn't glamorize, it seethes. And William Devane's dead-eyed performance? Iconic. It's the kind of film that whispers before it screams, and Tarantino loves movies that simmer before they snap. This one snaps so hard it echoes. House of Dark Shadows, 1970, is what happens when gothic horror breaks out of the coffin and bites back, hard. Spun from the cult TV series, this film cranks up the blood, darkness, and dread. At its heart is Barnabas Collins, a tragic vampire with a thirst for both love and blood, resurrected into a world that doesn't know what to do with him. Forget sparkles, this vampire rips throats open and leaves a trail of crimson regret. Tarantino loves House of Dark Shadows because it refuses to play nice. It's moody, melodramatic, and violently operatic. It's a soap opera dipped in arterial spray, drenched in gothic atmosphere, and laced with tragedy. The film's boldness, its unapologetic tone, and the raw hunger in every frame, that's the kind of bold storytelling Tarantino craves. It's not just horror, it's horror with fangs bared and no fear of the dark. MAS*H 1970 isn't just a war film, it's a scalpel-sharp satire that slices through the madness of conflict with wicked humor and rebellious charm. Directed by Robert Altman, this anti-establishment masterpiece follows army surgeons in a Korean war field hospital who treat war like a joke because sanity isn't an option. The dialogue overlaps like a jazz riff, the humor is pitch black, and the characters are gloriously inappropriate. Exactly the kind of raw, subversive energy Tarantino eats up. What Tarantino loves about MASH** isn't just the anarchy, it's the freedom. Altman lets chaos run wild, the camera wander, and the actors breathe. It's cinema that refuses to follow orders, just like Hawkeye and Trapper John refused to salute. Beneath the laughs, there's pain. Beneath the pranks, there's protest. MASH** doesn't glorify war, it exposes its absurdity. And in Tarantino's book, that's not just bold, that's revolutionary. Deep Red, 1975, is a fever dream drenched in blood and obsession. Directed by Italian giallo master Dario Argento, this film isn't just a murder mystery. It's a symphony of violence, beauty, and madness. When a musician witnesses a brutal killing, he's pulled into a surreal spiral of clues, shadows, and razor-sharp danger. The colors are loud, the kills are operatic, and the soundtrack? A pounding, psychedelic score by Goblin that feels like pure adrenaline. Tarantino reveres Deep Red for its hypnotic style and genre-defining energy. Every frame is art, painted with red, scored with fear, and driven by suspense that never lets go. This isn't just horror, it's horror as high fashion, with violence choreographed like ballet. Tarantino loves cinema that dares to be different, and Deep Red dares hard. If Hitchcock set the table, Argento kicked it over. This film doesn't whisper. It screams, with a knife in its hand. The Bad News Bears, 1976, isn't your typical sports movie. It's a rough-and-tumble underdog story laced with biting humor and raw humanity. This ragtag team of misfits, led by the gruff but lovable coach played by Walter Matthau, stumbles through Little League with more attitude than skill. What Tarantino digs about this film is its refusal to sugarcoat reality. These kids aren't polished athletes, they're foul-mouthed, flawed, and fiercely real. The movie captures the chaos of childhood with all its messy glory, friendship, rivalry, and the desperate hunger to prove yourself. It's funny, sometimes painfully honest, and never pretends that life is fair or clean. Tarantino respects films that celebrate the scrappy, the imperfect, and The Bad News Bears is a perfect example. It's a love letter to the losers, the fighters, and anyone who's ever dared to step up when the odds are stacked against them. Sorcerer, 1977, is a heart-pounding, relentless thriller that Tarantino sees as a hidden masterpiece of tension and chaos. Directed by William Friedkin, this film follows four desperate men hired to transport unstable explosives through a treacherous South American jungle, a journey soaked in dread, danger, and raw human desperation. There's no flashy heroism here, just gritty survival and edge-of-your-seat suspense that grinds down every nerve. Tarantino admires Sorcerer for its grim realism and nerve-rattling pacing, a perfect storm of character study and action. The film's brutal river crossing sequence is legendary. No CGI, just pure, terrifying human grit. It's about men pushed to the edge, trapped by fate and their own pasts. In Tarantino's eyes, Sorcerer embodies 70s cinema at its darkest and most daring. A slow burn that explodes with pure cinematic fury. This is not a movie you watch, it's one you survive.